Facebook is fighting back against its latest data breach after 2 Ukrainian nationals allegedly used quizzes to steal users' personal information.
The company's lawsuit says the quizzes required the user to use of browser extensions, which allowed the developers to secretly collect data. The scheme allegedly affected 63,000 web browsers between 2016 and 2018. So CNET senior producer Dan Patterson joins us now to talk more about this. And when I read about this, I thought, chances, because you know, I love those personality
quizzes.
I need the computer to tell me who I am. Really.
And she's also given up the ghost. She's always like, oh, everybody knows everything about me anyway because I take all these quizzes.
So what kind of information were they stealing?
The developers asked users to take a quiz, and while they took this quiz, or as a result of taking this quiz, a browser extension was installed. So this affected about 63,000 users, and that browser extension both scraped data about the users, as well as displayed ads that looked as though they were Facebook ads, but they're actually being served by these developers.
Wow.
So the operation apparently targeted Russian users. What does that tell you?
This tells us quite a bit, actually. So Russia has a long history of hacking Ukraine, to the point to which Ukraine is often referred to as a testbed for cyber attacks targeting other countries. So the United States, Russia, China, North Korea, and others have targeted Ukraine with social engineering as well as social media influence campaign type of content. This tells us that the Ukrainians have learned from the tactics and that they are kind of experts in launching very similar attacks back against the countries that have targeted them historically.
So was this similar to what happened with the Cambridge Analytica scandal that affected us over here in the U.S.?
Well, it shows that Facebook, at least through 2018, because this allegedly happened between 2016 and 2018, after the Cambridge Analytica scandal, that they were vulnerable, Facebook was vulnerable to very similar types of attacks, which simply means that Facebook is really good for targeting particular users with advertising. It's what makes the platform so valuable. In this case, users were targeted with quizzes that resulted, again, in their data being scraped and this browser extension installed. So really, it just tells us that Facebook is really good at what it does, which is target advertising and also being weaponized.
Right.
So Mark Zuckerberg said last week he wants to transition Facebook to a privacy-focused platform. And I was like, wait, what? I already thought privacy was a focus of Facebook. I thought my privacy was a focus of this organization, this company. Guess not.
So what Facebook, or at least Mr. Zuckerberg, has said that they are going to do is put an emphasis on private messaging. So they unified their messaging databases between WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook Messenger. And we see this trend. So the next trend in social media that's kind of risen in the last 18 months or so is private or small group communication. We see this with the rise of Slack, which is the workplace communication platform. We also see Discord, which is like Slack but for gamers, become incredibly popular and valuable platforms. We see WhatsApp, Signal, Telegram, and other applications that are designed for groups and linear one-to-one communication or one-to-few communication. Those have become incredibly popular in the last few years. So what Zuckerberg has said is that Facebook will kind of shift towards an emphasis on groups or small types of communication as opposed to broadcast. So think narrowcast.
But is that so? Okay, so there's two issues, I guess. Privacy is defined by your personal information, and privacy defined as the communications that you are undertaking with another party through the use of applications that allow for secure communications. But is that could that be profitable as the open source? I guess not open source, but you know what I mean. The larger platform.
Right.
It can be valuable because, once again, you still have the same group of people. You're just asking them to communicate in different ways. So the data from those users is still profitable. You can put advertisements in those channels, in those groups, and sometimes those advertisements can be more valuable because they are hyper-targeted towards specific groups of people as opposed to a broadcast audience.
So does this mean that these quizzes should be completely off limits?
Well, I won't prescribe policy for Facebook, but it appears as though the platform is very valuable for targeting message. And if your message is a quiz that's designed to give access to your account, then yeah.
And Vlad, I know what you mean, because it feels like every time we do this, any story with you, many of the stories with Facebook, we get a message from Facebook or Zuckerberg that says, you know what we're going to do? We're going to be more secure and also more transparent about what we're doing with your data. And with that other story, what we're going to do now is actually be more transparent and secure your data. It just feels like we get the same response over and over again, and then another story pops up.
Yeah, there is quite a bit of reporting to back up. You remember last year, Mr. Zuckerberg said, hey, look, we're going to make this privacy dashboard with everything very easy to understand. And they're, just like most CEOs, their developers said, oh, we had no notice of this, so we have to scramble to implement some policies that our executives just announced.
Okay, so now what we're going to do is secure your data, but also be more transparent.
Exactly, and stop taking quizzes.
Yes.
Dan Patterson, thank you very much, my friend.